McKeegan, a lieutenant governor there, they haven't faced any repercussions or any kind of pushback from their party when it comes to them attending that AFPAC event with a bunch of white nationalists, Nick Fuentes, to appeal to all of them. Now, by the way, McKeegan was asked about her positioning there and all that from a local reporter and didn't have much to say then, but there was a few headlines that did point out her hypocrisy and lack of a response to this. One said, this Republican was asked why she appeared at an event organized by white nationalists. She ended the interview. Also, Idaho Republican storms off after reporter asks why she spoke at an event hosted by a white nationalist. Also, Idaho's lieutenant governor wants so badly to avoid explaining her appearance at a white nationalist convention. All those things are true because when she was asked about why she was present there and what it is that she was looking to accomplish, she did say this. Here's the back and forth that she did have. Are you familiar with who puts this event on? Is what this local reporter Brian Holmes asked her. Like Nick Fuentes? Ms. McGeechan appeared to be caught off guard. I don't know who he is. Now don't forget that statement. I don't know who he is what she stammered. I've never met him. I don't know who he is. Sounds a lot like what Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying at first. I mean, his name is on it, is what the journalist pointed out. Well, Ms. McGeechan replied, you know what? Nick Fuentes, as I said, I don't know him. I've never met him. So it's obvious she's trying to avoid answering the question. She's just not very good at it. So she forgot how to actually do all those things and point out the lots of nothing when it came to talking with supportive journalists, supportive pundits, anyone like that. Let's watch this.
To present a video of my commitment to the Idaho First policies and my vision for the state of Idaho and for America to thousands of young conservatives. I was invited by Michelle Malkin, and so yes, I did know who I was talking to, who had invited me to speak at that conference. And so I don't think, if you know who Michelle Malkin is, she's a conservative woman. Her family immigrated from the Philippines, and she happens to be married to a Jewish man. So it's just a double speak that the illiberal left likes to talk, and it doesn't. We're not going to back off. I'm not going to back off from the opportunity to talk to other conservatives across the country about America First policies.
Not going to back off to talk to fellow conservatives about America First policies. That's all code words. I'm not going to back off to talk to racist Republican supporters to talk about our racist policies and how we want to continue to foment their anger and their violence. I will not take that opportunity because I would like to stay in power, and this is my base. Now, remember before she talked about she never heard Nick Fuentes, didn't know what any of this was, didn't know what AFPAC was. I just showed up, I want to talk to people. And then in this, she says that the illiberal left is engaging in doublespeak. Not sure if she knows what doublespeak is, but when you say one thing to one other journalist that you don't know what you're talking about, and then to a journalist that you think is going to agree with you, that you know exactly what you were getting yourself involved in, I would call that doublespeak, David.
Yeah, I'd call it doublespeak, verbal gymnastics, twisting yourself into a pretzel verbally. I mean, you could go down the list in terms of what she's trying to do to make sense out of this. And the fact is, there's no sense. These people have no shame. And if I would like to see somebody, if you're going to attend a white racist, white nationalist conference, and you feel like you're justified in doing so, then okay, then go on the most challenging adversarial journalism platform imaginable and defend yourself, and at least show some self-shame, some self-respect. But the fact is they don't have any because they know there's something, I think deep inside they know that there's something wrong with this and it's their own craven politics that causes them to do this. So they run and hide and they only go to friendly journalists, they only go to people that agree with them. And again, there's simply no shame, there's no self-respect in these folks. And it's embarrassing, and I'm humiliated for the people of Idaho that have elected this idiot.
It's just the wonder now is whether or not someone's going to point this out every time she takes a mic, every time she gets an interview, every time she wants to defend herself and her record and say that she's working for the people of Idaho or whoever else that she says that she's working for, because apparently it's not all the people of Idaho. It's just the racist, as you openly said, hey, I'm going to lie to one person and say I don't know what I was doing, and then I'll turn around and say that I completely knew what I was doing and I'm not gonna apologize for it. Hey, well, be consistent. Aren't you strong? What happened to the America's the strongest in the world? Aren't you strong or are you weak? Which one is it? Because you're showing.
Yeah, not everybody in Idaho is stupid, but clearly this one is at the top of the list.
Absolutely. Thank you again for another Monday, David. It's a a wonderful day. I'll be rooting for your Wolverines as they continue on through the tournament. I'm rooting for it all the way, as usual. Thank you guys for being here with us as well on the watch list. Up next is John Iadarola with the Damage Report. You don't want to miss that. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to the Damn Short. I'm John Iadarola. Today is a fantastic Monday, which means Francesca Fiorentini joins us once again. Francesca, how's it going? How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm struggling. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm slowly feeling more normal. Just hacking up bits of phlegm. Good morning. I hope you're eating lunch or breakfast or whatever.
Not anymore. Thankfully, though, it's the only sort of hack you'll ever be. Anyway, Francesca, of course, is several days into what is thankfully a mild case of COVID. Glad to see that. Not that it exists, but that it's mild. Get vaccinated, get boosted, everybody, if you haven't already.
Please.
We're trying to avoid another spike. By the way, good news started off. I just saw this. LA County COVID hospitalizations are at their lowest since July 2021. That's good. That's almost a year. That's some progress, baby.
A year.
I'll take what I can get.
I need more than that. I need like 2019. No. I'd be like, oh, okay.
No, we're not even at 2020 yet, but we're working on it and we're hoping to get there and we can do it together. There's a lot of things, in fact, that we can do together, like discuss the news, which is what we're gonna do for the next hour and a half or so. So thank you for joining us. We've got a ton to break down, including some fascinating developments in Ukraine, hints at what might be coming soon. Movement on the Supreme Court in a couple different directions simultaneously, creepy attacks against AOC, and a whole lot more besides. So if you want to help out the stream, you can do that by hitting the like button, sharing it, letting people know that we're live and all that. And if you want to send us comments, tweets, super chats, and all of that, we'll respond as we go. But with that said, Francesca, you ready to talk about some news?
Yeah, sorry, I just saw a funny tweet. Yeah.
What's the funny tweet? Do you want to read to present it to the classroom?
Yeah, Abby Crutchfeld writes, I honestly think we're asking too much of cauliflower. And I agree. Yeah. As someone who likes cauliflower for what it is, I don't need it fried and made to taste like chicken wings. Chicken wings can do that.
Yeah, well, Impossible Chicken, very good. Yeah, I feel a little bit weird when I consider like cauliflower pizza crust, and I would never eat it by itself. It's like I've never appreciated it. Anyway, great tweet. And so with all that said, let's jump into serious stuff with this.
The use of chemical weapons, is that a red line in your mind for whether NATO should at least intervene to protect civilians in some form in Ukraine?
I think that it should be, Chuck, and I think that we in the West, the United States and NATO, we need to stop telling the Russians what we won't do. We need to be very clear that we are considering all options, that the use of chemical weapons is certainly something that would alter our calculation. And we need to understand that, we shouldn't be in the business of some have called it self-deterrence. Putin's actions so far have demonstrated, first of all, that the Russian military is nowhere near as capable as the world perhaps thought it was, probably not as capable as Putin thought it was. And they need to understand that if the brutality here increases, the United States will contemplate and consider every possible range of actions along with our NATO allies. And I think
so Liz Cheney shocking the world. For the first time ever, she thinks, hey, maybe we go to war, maybe there's an excuse, maybe there's a rationale. And in this case, it would be the use of chemical weapons, which, by the way, earlier in this month, Russia accused Ukraine of harboring chemical weapons. Russia, I should say, and then also former lefties on YouTube accusing them of preparing to use chemical weapons, which US officials believe to be a false flag strategy to give Russia justification to use its own chemical or biological weapons. Joe Biden has warned that Russia would endure severe consequences if chemical weapons were unleashed. They have not been more specific than that. Liz Cheney has been. She wants them to be severe and military. By the way, we're like a week and a half into the biolabs thing, and thus far, no chemical weapons use by any side, which is exactly what we would want. But Francesca, what do you think about Liz Cheney there?
Oh man, I mean, it's just kind of adorable because it's like, oh, you're still your daddy's girl. Like you're still a Cheney after all these years. You want to go to war so bad, don't you? Oh, you do. And like, Oh my God, and this has been, it's not funny, but it's been rolling through my mind this entire time. We know what Trump would be doing right now if he were president, effectively nothing. Blaming Ukrainians for them being bombed and killed. But we also have to think about what Bush would do. And Bush-Cheney team would be in Ukraine right now. Consequences be damned, committing however many soldiers on the ground. And we would be in for a long quagmire. As you hear her saying, she's like, the Russian army is not even that strong. Nah, that's a Cheney. That's a little neocon in there being like, ooh, I think we can take them. Great, yeah. You know what I don't think? I don't think Putin is a stable actor. I don't think he's a reliable one. And I would not bet on him not using nuclear weapons. And like when someone wants to use chemical weapons, is your response like, cool, let's send our people in there? I don't know. Yeah. That's not the kind of leader I would be. But I do understand, this is the entire last point, the entire thing with trying to exercise a certain amount of restraint. No matter which party is in power, the opposition party will always say that they look weak, always say it. And it happened under Obama. He did put a red line and then he put it to Congress when it came to Syria and their use of chemical weapons. And Congress, in fact, said no. So it's an interesting strategy. I don't know if Congress would still say no, at least not the Senate. But yeah, putting it actually to a vote with our elected representatives, that could be an option.
Yeah, that's true. I've been trying to get a sense of that, and we are, because of the stakes, we're pointing out those who we feel are actively encouraging a push for war. But I am not doing so because I believe that they're widely representative, whether they're reporters or elected representatives. I do think that thankfully, the nature of this conflict, the push for war, is far more muted than it was in all of the other ones, I think, because it's always been there. I don't think that there are many politicians that are hot for us to get directly involved. You have like John Kennedy, occasionally Lindsey Graham, you have some pundits,
Kissinger,
Sean Hannity, Kissinger, of course. He doesn't even know what the conflict is.
And then the entire press corps.
Yeah, and the entire press corps, unfortunately. And look, the interesting thing is you point out, I think rightly, her comment about the Russian military. Like thus far, they do seem to be having far more trouble. We've been reporting on that regularly, but we're reporting that because we believe it to be reflective of the situation on the ground, not because so let's get in there and let's do this thing. But it really does feel like that with Liz Cheney. As you said, I think we can take them, but let's finesse that a bit. That's Liz Cheney saying, I think we can take them, and if we can't, ain't gonna affect me. I'll make some money off it either way because we'll sell the weapons. I'm never gonna be within 3,000 miles of it. If they nuke a few cities, I'll stay out of city centers and I'll be perfectly fine. We are focusing on the stakes as they apply to as many people as possible. Those who would benefit from the war are the most insulated from it on both the American and Russian sides.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Now, we want to let you know about some other updates of what's been going on over the past few days on the ground, including that, and again, grains of salt, as always. We're almost a month into this, massive grains of salt on anything that has not been confirmed by multiple parties. Ukraine's foreign ministry accused Russia of forcibly relocating thousands of children from the eastern Donbas region to Russia. They said almost 2,400 children were taken from their parents on a single day, March 19th. That claim could not be independently confirmed. And it's a big one would want it to be, but that is what they are saying. In addition, Russian forces apparently bombed an art school in Mariupol that was sheltering around 400 civilians. That follows up the theater that was bombed, where well over 1,000 civilians were sheltering. Seems like kind of a pattern potentially. A mall was just destroyed, killing at least 8 people. And there's video going around. In fact, I saw CNN right before we went live was using it. I considered it to be difficult to 100% confirm exactly what was happening in the video, so we chose not to use it. But it appears to show protesters, peaceful protesters in Kherson being fired upon by Russian forces. There is some video of people that had been bloodied. It is not clear if they were just close to flashbangs or if there was active live ammunition being used on the protesters, which is why we are deciding to slow roll actually using it. But we've been worried about that. There's been a lot of intimidation of peaceful protesters in the cities that have been taken over by Russian forces, Francesca. If this is signaling a willingness to disperse these crowds with force, That is a scary change for Russia to be making.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to continue to do that as there's more and more dissent within Russian society. And again, as information cracks actually leak through and Russians understand what's going on. I mean, I think especially if this is being sold to the Russian people as a targeted military, exercise or just like strike or operation, then that's the kind of thing that should be done in a couple weeks, correct? Right? It shouldn't be a prolonged war if it's not actually a war, but here it is, it's prolonging. The thing I'm gonna say is also, I think it's very interesting that Putin doesn't really have a line as to what he wants with Ukraine. This is not, I'm going to save the Ukrainian people. This is not even, sort of that, American veneer of benevolent intervention as we often do. This is just, nah, it's mine, I want it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it, because if he really was concerned about the Russian minorities or Russian speaking minorities in the eastern provinces of Ukraine, then why are you kidnapping children? Why are there also reports of people being forced into labor camps or disappeared once they reach the Russian side? Maybe Russia's actually not much better. If you're open firing on your protesters, then what are we doing here? What are you spreading? It's definitely not freedom or civil rights or whatever democracy. It's definitely not democracy.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to see. And no, it's just it's mine and I want it and it's mine now.
Exactly. Yeah. And look, when we say what he wants, there's like different levels of want. Want can mean is serious about pursuing rather than we believe is reflective of a desire inside of his heart. The idea that he cares about Russian speaking people in Ukraine. He's got $200 billion and he murders his political opponents. He doesn't care about regular people in literally any context.
No.
But he might be willing to do certain things in advance of the supposed goal that means nothing to him personally. He seems to want to do maximum damage in pursuit of getting things, with the things possibly being those regions, more control of the Ukrainian government, demilitarization, God only knows. And the question is going to be how far he's willing to go, how barbarous he's willing to be before hopefully making some sort of deal. And even a deal itself isn't necessarily, like one of the fears I think on the Ukrainian side is if they take one of these deals, especially if they like transfer over, the contested regions, for how long? How long does that stand?
Yes.
Do you then just have Russian forces that move into and permanently camp in those areas and then they invade again in a year? There's a lot of fears about where this could go long term. Now that said, we want to jump into something very different. Bearing in mind massive grains of salt in terms of speculation about what could be happening inside of Russia, the Chief Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense in Ukraine has an interesting theory / update about what could be going on domestically. They say a group of influential people who oppose President Vladimir Putin and who plan to assassinate him are forming among the Russian business and political elite, saying, quote, a part of Russia's political elite sees Federal Security Service Director Alexander Bortnikov as Putin's successor. It is Bortnikov who has recently fallen out of favor with the Russian dictator. The official reason for the FSS leader's downfall is fatal miscalculations in the war against Ukraine. So supposedly Bortnikov and the department that he's in charge of was responsible for analyzing the views of the Ukrainian population and the capacity of the Ukrainian army. It's known that Bortnikov and some other influential members of the Russian elite are considering various options for removing Putin from power. In particular, poisoning, sudden illness, or other accident is not excluded. So this is obviously incredibly dramatic. We caution hesitance for any news like this and pretty much anything when it is coming from Ukrainian intelligence and it paints a picture of a guy who not only had bungled his job, but might soon be in charge, and they say might be the guy responsible for warning the Ukrainian government about the groups coming in to attempt to assassinate Zelensky. That to me, Francesca, seems a little bit too good to be true if you believe this is a path that should be walked down.
Yeah, especially because like Russia poison, like where would they even get access? Like accidents, making stuff like in what? They'd have to learn real quick how to do that because they've never done it before. against any opposition members or civilians. Yeah, no, that is, look, you can't have all the yachts of the oligarchs seized before they're gonna start to get kind of uppity, they're gonna be mad. Putin should have at least been like, okay, look, you come to my $1 billion castle, you hang out, we do boonga boonga. I don't ever wanna know what that means again. I've tried to forget it for many years. Like, you gotta, we'll get a bounce house or whatever he promises them to just sort of allay their fears. Otherwise, yeah, they're gonna come for the king. Here's the question. When you come for the king, you can't miss. And so I am very nervous for these people. But yeah, we will see. And of course, Putin will probably call it all a State Department op, along with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Funny how.
Definitely. Yeah, just be careful. I've watched a lot of Succession. Just go very carefully. Anyway, what I would personally say is, and again, there's a lot of things that we cannot confirm. This is 7 steps further that nothing can be confirmed. If I was like, this is probably intended, like let's say that it's not at all true. It's probably intended to make Putin even more paranoid than he already is, and he is very paranoid. Right. You know who should be paranoid with this out there is Bortnikov. I doubt he likes this being reported by the Ukrainians. Like, no, dude, I'm totally not trying to do this. Everybody back off. But anyway, again, impossible to say. They added, though, in addition to this stuff about a possible uprising, that another group, a Russian mercenary group called Liga, is arriving in Ukraine with the goal being to eliminate top military and political leadership of Ukraine, where some other groups previously had failed in that task. So we will see. But Francesca, I saved kind of the most controversial for last. I want your opinion about this.
Yeah.
So big news. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced on Saturday that the country is combining all national TV stations into a singular platform in an effort to combat Russian disinformation. The new platform, called United News, is a national security measure given, quote, the direct military aggression of the Russian Federation, the active dissemination of misinformation by the aggressor state, and distortion of information, as well as justifying or denying the armed aggression of Russia against Ukraine. That is all from a statement from the president's office. Says that this announcement, obviously, which is under a state of martial law, means the suspension of privately owned and operated media outlets in Ukraine. Zelensky said the new platform is critical to tell the truth about the war. So they are obviously in the middle of a devastating war, multiple cities being besieged, a lot of chaos, and obviously a massive amount of disinformation inside and outside of Ukraine. It's a pretty big change, though. What do you think about that?
I mean, usually this is a move, right, that embattled leaders who are embattled by their own people and are trying to consolidate power do. In this case, there is a neighboring state that has far more money and weaponry and power that is attacking them. And not only that, has cut off electricity to Ukraine multiple times, has meddled in like their internet access, has done a bunch of stuff. So honestly, in times of emergency and war, I don't see this as some grand crackdown on freedom of speech. It's not like he's cutting off like public access channels of Ukrainians. He's not suspending Facebook. He's not suspending YouTube. He's not suspending TikTok. You know who is? That's Putin. So he's not going after people getting information out. He's actually going after, and oftentimes, especially in countries in the global south, the media is in the hands of a few, I mean, in this country as well, in the hands of a few oligarchs, right? And I don't know who those folks are. I don't know the history of telecommunications in Ukraine. I don't know if those people are Russian sympathizers and or if they are, sort of feeding out a lot of Putin propaganda. I don't want to call it all of Russia. But I just see this move as like, honestly, I think it's a good one. And I'm not gonna say like, oh my God, freedom of speech. The dude has got like 1 million assassination attempts on him. He's defending his country when no one else will. I think we can cut him some slack. If this continues and he's like, nobody can have a news channel except for me, obviously that's cause for concern. But these are extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, when they're literally bombing all the cities. Yeah, I would just want to know that like as soon as the situation is resolved, this should have an automatic contingency for its ending, especially when it's combined with this weekend. They decided to block the activities of 11 different political parties, saying that, quote, any activity of politicians aimed at splitting or collaborating will not succeed. Everyone must now take care of the interest of our state, the interest of Ukraine. Okay, well, obviously I'm not, the Ukrainian domestic politics expert or anything like that, so I don't know about the history or activities of these 11 different parties. And there are extenuating circumstances. That said, a democratic free country needs to come out of the other side of this as well. That is what the whole point is. That's what international, solidarity with Ukraine is about. It's about saving lives and maintaining the system of government that people are fighting for right now. And so I know everything that you say. Just want to, make sure that they come out of this with the same sort of system of government and press that they did before.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, I think that's definitely a bad look and not a good move to say, hey, opposition parties, you are essentially no longer. But at the same time, again, this is an embattled president. I get it, but you need your parties. You need these parties to work with you and support you. Mm-hmm. But here's what I will say, like, I don't know if I have a standing to say that Ukraine should emerge from this a democracy or else. I think Ukraine.
Well, I'm not saying or else.
But I mean, I think the goal is Ukraine needs to emerge Ukraine. Like Ukraine should emerge from this. I think their goal is to just have a country. I think if you ask most Ukrainians, I mean, I don't know, but I don't think like that their number one concern right now is anything but making sure there's a country to come back to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, we will be watching. And on that note, we will have to end because there's so much more to get to. So nobody go anywhere. We've got one member of the Supreme Court sick amidst the pandemic, another potentially entering soon. We're gonna break that down and a lot more after this. Okay, everybody, let's see what is going on out there. First of all, super chat from Nicolette Herades, who says, highly recommend a deep dive of NATO history and the Chechen War, as it is an exact play-by-play of what's happening now and also explains why Ukrainians buckled down the way they did. Our shock, I learned, is based on ignorance. That is interesting. I will have to look into that to find out more about that.
Yeah.
Moondragon super chat says, where's Eric Prince in all this? Hopefully nowhere.
He's somewhere. He's somewhere.
Why?
He's trying to make a buck.
Just go be wealthy. Go do that stuff. Sailor Digurin super chatted to say, let's not forget that the Afghanistan and Iraq wars taught the world that America's military wasn't as powerful as we'd all thought it was too. That's true. That's true. I mean, yes, and your military can be strong in certain sorts of situations and not in others. And in fact, I think the war in Iraq, the war in Ukraine are different tests of a military. I think that in the long run, Russia could experience a version of this war that is more like our experience in Iraq.
Right.
First, they have to take it over, and then possibly even rougher times come. Yes. But again, it could come down to how brutal they are. It is possible that, I mean, if we're considering them using like, chemical weapons or something like that, the idea that they could absolutely brutalize this population to try to cow it is not impossible. And at a certain point, even a really like steadfast population can break.
I mean, just thinking about that, like Baghdad fell sadly and awfully, but sooner than this. If this is any indication of how a Russian occupation would go in Ukraine, it doesn't look good.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that only took a couple of weeks to take some of the major cities. Anyway, okay, I want to let you know about a few things that have been going on. Not only your continued access to the watch list. J.R. Jackson goes live every weekday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific time. It's got some awesome guests on throughout the week to break, including today was David Schuster to break down what's going on in news and politics, sports, pop culture, viral videos, all that. Very exciting, and you can watch that at youtube.com/watchlistTYT or twitch.tv/TYT. Also, you can now watch the Young Turks on Local Now, streaming across your favorite devices in the news section. You can stay connected with what's happening near you with Local Now, your one-stop shop for free local news, weather, and more. There's 200 local streams that you can access, so check that out. It's available on whatever app you've got right now. Also, by the way, very exciting, coming up just tomorrow on Deep Dive with Jordan Ewell, the big tattoo reveal. So you helped Jordan raise money for the Yemen Relief and Reconstruction Foundation, and as a result, he's got a tattoo, which he said he would do, and he did it. He did it. You'll get to see it live tomorrow, so very exciting stuff. Okay, now in the member section, Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says IMO, or in my opinion, with Putin's tremendous ego, he wants to reunite the old USSR as his legacy. His age frightens me because he may be concerned about how he goes down in the history books. He may want to go out with a bang. I have no idea. Again, like, it's not to say that people like this can't have like ideological aspirations, but anything beyond the accumulation of power, the accumulation of wealth, I consider to be opportunistic and temporary for these people. I don't think that they care genuinely about the sorts of things that we often throw around. Something like that, potentially, I don't know. I also don't know that I believe someone like Putin believes in a legacy. I mean, these are, anyway, go into it. Vince Morales, welcome to Tier 1 membership on YouTube. Thank you to all of our members. We've got a few more to read, but first, we do have a lot more news. We're gonna jump back to the US, see what's going on with the state of our Supreme Court. Okay, I was a bit over, but your 1 second cooldown was in the middle of it. So anyway, welcome back everyone. We've got a lot more show for you. Why don't we start off with this? Just as the nomination hearing, the testimony of Ketanji Brown Jackson to potentially join the Supreme Court is going on, we find out that Justice Clarence Thomas, a 73-year-old, back on Friday was hospitalized with an infection. Now he is expected to be released within the next couple of days, but we can give you a little bit of the details from the statement that was put out. They said that he experienced flu-like symptoms. He underwent tests, was diagnosed with an infection, is being treated with intravenous antibiotics. His symptoms are abating, he is resting comfortably, and he expects to be released from a hospital in a day or two. So he will participate in the consideration and discussion of any cases for which he is not present on the basis of briefs, transcripts, and audio of the oral arguments. And if he has any questions he wants to ask, I would be shocked. So anyway, the flu still exists, obviously, Francesca. It is possible that his flu-like symptoms are from the flu. What do you think?
Nah, man. Come on, man.
You think
I
there's no debate?
just pulled on a like sincere Biden. Come on, man.
Come on, man, that's malarkey.
That's what I thought for the first few days of Omicron, Homicron. Yeah, I think you had COVID. Come on.
You think he had COVID? He's
the
73.
Flu bounced. The flu was like, my work is done. Goodbye. You deal with humanity. I've plagued them long enough. Does anyone even get the flu? No.
I think some still do, but.
Oh God, no, I'm so glad he's recovered, yay.
Because we don't wish death or suffering on anyone. That is
Nobody.
Our policy.
Even though your wife was there during the Stop the Steal rally, that's your right. Oh my God, do you go off, Justice?
I am being completely sincere. I know I'll probably get criticized. Look, here's what I do not want Justice Thomas or any other justice to be sick. We've had a lot of suffering,
except for Kavanaugh.
And death.
Yeah,
Kavanaugh. Bad hangover, maybe. He's probably getting those regularly. But here's what I would say to Justice Clarence Thomas. Dude, you're 73 now, and you're not getting any healthier. That's a natural state of things. It's unfortunate, but we can't run from it. We have to accept that. So you have a wife. You guys have shared interests, like destroying our democracy. Why not retire and get to spend your golden years or whatever together, insurrecting?
Yeah.
Like spend those years together rather than just sitting like a lump on the SCOTUS, not saying anything, having no personal investment in anything that's done, and just slowly chipping away at our country and our values. Go off and be active on the ground. Go to some Trump rallies with Cheney. Come on, isn't that a better use of your time?
Never gonna happen.
Now he's just, nobody retires anymore, I guess. I mean, Breyer retired. Can a right winger retire? Not under Biden, I guess, right?
Not under Biden. Nope.
Yeah.
Those things, retirements are only for Trump. Three. I can't even. COVID comes back every time I think of it.
Flu-like symptoms. Okay, Francesca, isn't it time to retire and spend your golden year? Anyway.
Oh my God, I want to retire so hard. Please let me retire. If I were him, I would love to. Let's Freaky Friday this. And I don't know actually what that means. I was like, I'll be a justice, you be me.
I think that's the Freaky Friday reboot we need. A kid switches with a Supreme Court justice. Clarence Thomas gets to ride a skateboard. And she gets to defend reproductive rights.
And kids still have moral centers, so
exactly.
We'll all be fine.
I'm gonna write that script, and no one's gonna like it. Anyway, as Clarence Thomas is dealing with his flu-like symptoms and is expected to recover soon, Ketanji Brown Jackson, the process is in motion, testifying literally as we're recording this. Already this morning, Lindsey Graham tried to get a sequel going to his Kavanaugh testimony where he got really red in the face and was aggrieved about everything. Here's the difference though. The Democrats technically have 50 votes. So whether it's Lindsey Graham's comments or perhaps we'll return to Josh Hawley's pedophilia smear, it shouldn't matter, right, Francesca? They've got the votes. What do you think?
Do they? I mean, I don't know. Who knows what kind of deals Sinema and Manchin have been making, right? These are, anyway, I don't know if anything. I don't know if we've ever had 50 votes on anything except for daylight savings time, which we had many more than 50 votes.
Weirdly enough.
Strangely, but yeah, no, look, every time, it's just incredible, and it hits you in the face just so much when you watch, and compare Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation to Brett Kavanaugh's, right? Yep. You've got Kavanaugh, who the right just made such a martyr. How dare you? Oh, how dare you accuse this man, even though he was definitely accused and definitely lied to our faces about all the ridiculous things that he talked about in his yearbook or whatever the hell. Yep. How dare you make him feel bad? He's just a little boy. He's just a little boy. And then he cries and everything's fine. Ketanji Brown Jackson, you've got Lindsey Graham in her face, basically being like, there were other black women. There are other black women who are qualified. What about you? And like, I'm not even gonna consider race, and just like the amount of racism, the white privilege, like all you need, again, we don't need CRT. You just compare these two confirmation hearings. And I send all of my strength out to anyone, because it's not just Ketanji Brown Jackson. There have been other hearings. And for people that Republicans have successfully blocked of Biden's, I just send all of my strength out to that, because it takes so much wherewithal to be calm, swallow your pride, and let Lindsey Graham bark in your face and disrespect you on a national stage. And then know pretty soon you're gonna be a goddamn justice. So it's
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
That's the way that it should go. And couldn't we use it as a people? Look, it's not even that like if you were to get together like a council of the best progressives in the country, could they find other people that they'd prefer? I'm sure that they could. But let's take wins where we can get them. The fact that Biden's even maybe gonna get a nominee is great. And that also he put forward a short list and she was the best on the short list and they went with her. Rather than the more pro-corporate, pro-law enforcement, like this could have, when was the last time something could have been worse and in the end wasn't? It's been a good while, so let's take this. And by the way, they're gonna try to stop it. But it is an unpopular thing as of right now to do so. According to a Monmouth poll on this, 55% support confirming Ketanji Brown Jackson. 21% say no, 24% are unsure, which I personally think is fine. It's a Supreme Court nomination. 1/4 of the country is not gonna pay attention. Democrats are overwhelmingly supportive. Who are the 3% of Democrats who are against it? I don't know. Independents basically are even more supportive than the population at large. It's only Republicans that are against it, and even 1/3 of them are like, it just seems fine. Just let her on. Like we've talked before about Supreme Court confirmation battles being an election issue. They've decided to go up against a woman who is, at least as of this point, quite popular. And they're making that one of the big multi-week debates of the election. So interesting strategy from the Republicans there.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm seeing how people are reacting to how she's being treated, and I'm like, yeah, there's no excuse. There's no excuse to treat a nominee like this, But then again, like, the right has long said goodbye to respectability politics. And I wish the left would, or the liberals would, a little bit more, so they could stand up for their side on this, because nobody deserves to be treated so horribly. But yeah, so we will see, and it still doesn't matter because Roe v. Wade is being completely torn to shreds, and states across this country are currently legislating for its demise. So Republicans still get what they want. My question is, who comes after Ketanji? Hopefully, if she gets confirmed.
Hero.
No, what comes next?
It's a long fight.
Expanding the effing courts.
I agree. It's Biden. So you know how likely that is. We fight all battles. We fight the immediate battles. We fight the outside of elected politics battles. We fight the elected politics battles. We fight the long-term battles.
Don't touch strategy battle with me, John Iadarola.
And I will just say, in terms of strategy, in terms of consequences, the only thing at this point that can sink this thing is, again, if Manchin and Sinema go against it. But I mean, come on, if they were to do that, Biden would be infuriated. Think of the consequences.
Nope.
We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm sure tomorrow we'll have some more video and stuff like that, because the Republicans are going to be like, they can't necessarily stop this, but they're going to be competing with one another to be the most insane to fundraise off of. Now that said, let's jump into something very different with this.
If I was to take Senator Hawley's comment seriously, I would express out.
That is an interesting video. We unfortunately don't have time for it. Great comments there from Sheila Jackson Lee. But we're gonna move on to the C block now. I apologize. We're gonna do something completely different with this.
I'll tell you a secret. Most people don't really know what capitalism is. Most people don't even know what socialism is. But most people are not capitalists because they don't have capitalist money. They're not billionaires. Sometimes the label doesn't matter as much as just talking about policies. That's easier to understand. Do you think people should die because they can't afford insulin? Do you think that fossil fuel CEO should decide whether the planet gets set on fire? Me neither.
So in the Instagram live, AOC makes a couple of specific points that are indisputable. And so in attacking her, Fox News is not going to attempt to dispute those. They're gonna get real creepy with it. Take a look at this.
AOC doing that, I don't feel that tingling pleasure. I want to gnaw at my hands. I want to pull my eyes out. I want to scream and run out of the room.
What if she ate a chicken bone? Would that make you feel a sensation?
It would stop her talking. It would stop her advocating the virtues of socialism. I mean, I know I didn't know about this. I thought when I first saw this video that she just had followed the Joe Biden thing and thought that really weird, creepy whisper thing that Biden sometimes does works really well as a means of communication. So well that she's trying it as well. I didn't know that it could be any bigger scene.
Did she steal this move from Biden, or do you think Biden stole it from her? Or do you think Biden has no idea what this means?
I think
I have no idea how someone like that is being paid millions of dollars to analyze politics live. So their thing is, we're not going to actually rebut any of AOC's points. We're not going to answer those questions about insulin or about the devastation of our climate or anything. We're going to debate whether she is whispering to be like Biden, because as we all know, Biden invented whispering back in 1963. It was a hot summer and it was a cool new way to communicate. Or if she's doing ASMR.
That's a true story.
Yeah. Which is what his I didn't feel the weird tingling pleasure was. That's ostensibly why he said it. Also, the fact that when they come back from a live video of AOC, he talks about tingling pleasure and Jesse Waters talks about eating a bone. Those are just random things. They're not sexualizing her in a weird, creepy way or anything, Francesca. What do you think?
I mean, they've all saved that video. They're like, that is for later. But my question is, engage with the substance. Engage with what she says. What do you think about that, Jesse Waters? Are you a capitalist? How much money do you have? Like, because it is a good point. First of all, I don't know why she was whispering. I think it's a fun like device to be sort of. It's a comical device. As a comedian, I could say it's a comical device. Or her boyfriend was asleep, which I also get, and just be like, hey. But it's a good point, right? Most people do throw around these terms and they don't actually know what it means. And truly, it doesn't actually mean all that much until you really put it into concrete terms like that. Yes, can we afford to have infinite growth on a finite planet the way capitalism says and just have endless GDP, even though GDP doesn't reflect any kind of quality of life and living? No, I don't believe in that. Call me anti-capitalist. I don't think I am. I still shop online, sadly, because it's the only way I feel the sadness from capitalism. I mean, that's how it works. I'm stuck in a sort of hamster wheel. Yeah. But
yeah, exactly. Is that desirable? Is that possible? And look, they didn't address the specific claims about the price of insulin and those sorts of things because they don't want to. They know that there are people watching that are devastated by the price of their insulin. Republicans who are paying tons of money, they're there to distract Republicans from taking a long, serious, hard look at their economic state, their lot in life, and wondering why Republicans never address it, why they never try to solve it. So they don't address that. They also don't address the meta commentary about these labels. Most people, including every single host on Fox, has no idea what capitalism is or socialism is, or to the extent that they do, they lie about it. They understand, of course, on some level, that America is a mix of freedoms and regulations. That is what it is. It's a spectrum. It's not two little boxes that you either are in one or you're in the other. What she's saying is that people care about the questions that affect their life specifics rather than just these labels. And they couldn't rebut that if they wanted to, and they don't even try. Now, briefly, I want to jump ahead to this because of all of the people to try to attack her on this, I'm going to go to this Tim Pool tweet who says AOC should have Googled the definition of capitalist before making this video, but I hope the ASMR channel works for her. Again, have these people never heard of whispering? I think it's very weird, but maybe not, because this is the same Tim Pool who just a few days ago tweeted, I went to a diner with my girlfriend and was told it was a 20-minute wait. After only a few minutes, a couple walked in and was seated right away. I complained and left right away. I don't tolerate bull S, and I don't tolerate people who think I should care when they do. The dude has never heard of reservations. He's never heard that, like maybe they were there a few minutes ago, they put their name down, they went outside to make a phone call or something. This is the guy that's gonna be critiquing her ability to talk about political ideology and political economy? I don't think so. Anyway.
And sadly, like explain yourself, Tim Pool. How's capitalism working out for you, right? And mostly, do you believe in free competition? Well, we don't really have that right now because we have an incredible amount of conglomerates. Amazon just buys MGM, no big deal. We have, an insane system that is like feeding on corporate handouts. Government handouts, right? Like all of the amount of subsidies that we give to fossil fuel industries, to big agriculture, all that kind of stuff. What do you mean by capitalism? Usually it's all in this like, whoa, the invisible hand of the market. And when Milton Friedman was a sucker, okay? And none of that has panned out. And all of it has just meant you work longer hours for less pay. What you want to do with that? That's exploitation. That's capitalist exploitation. That's how it's working out for 99% of Americans. So I love when people are like, I am a capitalist. Yeah. In your little petri dish of libertarianism where everything works out, in your little Sim City, but like in the real world, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, they say they're pro-capitalist. All they are is they're pro-establishment. They are pro the ones who are currently winning through a combination of things we associate with capitalism and things we associate with socialism. subsidies in some cases, freedoms of regulations in others. They're doing fine right now, and I would very much like them to continue doing fine. You can call it whatever you want, and they do. They call it pro-capitalist. It ain't capitalist. It's pro-status quo. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And with that said, we're gonna have to take a break. When we come back, though, someone working for Trump is revealing some information about January 6th that they've apparently already revealed at the January 6th Commission. It's exciting stuff, and we'll break it down after this. Who do you think he was really at that diner with? You think he was with anybody? I think he was alone.
My girlfriend who is real.
We walked in and she's right out of frame, and we tried to get a table. Anyway, you wouldn't know her. She goes to a diner in Canada. Anyway,
that was all like a tweet just to say that he had a girlfriend.
That's all it was.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's all it was.
I love how you have to couch it in like him being a douche when he couldn't just be like, I love my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Her name is Melissa. She's like really sweet.
Maybe he does. Like we always say, there are a lot of really awful conservative guys. Women can also be awful conservatives too. Never forget it. Anyway, the Stone Eagle Dragon has been a member for 16 months and say, wasn't that Bill O'Reilly's cringe boy talking about Jesse Waters? Yes, and he has gotten no better since then. Teddy Bear Dragon on Twitch says 14 months on Twitch and 4 years overall. Love TYT and everything you do. It's amazing to watch you grow. Thank you for keeping us grounded. Thank you, very nice of you. The Chibs has been a member on YouTube for 14 months, says, ooh, unlucky for some, but luckily I've been a dragon for 13 moons. Hello, dragons. I still don't get it. And I think they're doing it to mess with me.
13 moons.
Dragon Wheels, member for 14 months, says, happy week to everyone. Prayers to all of Ukraine. Thank you, yes. Forrest Dudley, tier 3 member for 16 months, says, love being able to catch a show live again. Had to cancel my debit card to protect against an online scam and my membership expired. I went through TDR withdrawal until I was able to reinstate it. It was a tough 6 hours. You made it through though. That does sound like hell. Thank you. Were we live during that time? No, you're very nice.
I love that was this person's number one concern was like TDR versus like, I don't know, all the shopping sprees that whoever took it did. That's very sweet. Exactly. It shows where your priorities are.
Thank you. Texas Two-Step Dragon, love the name. And the members comment says, big shout out to the 2IT crew for liking the morning together on the members app RAR. Thank you, love our members over on the full app. Eric the Red says, by the way, since Francesca made a throwaway joke about starting an ASMR channel a while back, I looked into the matter. Turns out I can't get the tingles, but whispered ASMR sends me right off to sleep. That is coming in handy. Yeah, I might have to try that at some point. I've been experiencing a bit of.
I like the hair brushing. That is like, that sounds very nice.
I can see that. What about like scratching a cat and having the cat purr? I feel like that's probably pretty good.
But I can just do that. I do that every morning.
You do that
literally every morning before I wake up.
A live ASMR performance. Yeah, to Fox, like people whisper. It's a thing. It's not like I'm not being Joe Biden. That's malarkey.
Are you a bad whisperer? They're bad.
I am.
They don't actually know how to.
I
they
don't
do
get
this.
quieter.
Rather than this is a whisper. But they do that. What?
I used to get in trouble for my friends because like my voice changes, but it doesn't get much quieter. It travels just as far. It's smaller, but that just lets it pierce the air more. Right. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, Edward Perez in the YouTube comments just says Francesca is awesome. And it's true, I looked into it. JYPZ Rock says Liz has never been a war. She didn't want to join. Well, to be fair, that she didn't want you all to join. She doesn't want to join. Not interested in that. Anyway, Anthony McLendon sent in a super chat to say, welcome back, Francesca. Mondays aren't the same without you. Glad you're feeling better despite the phlegm hacking. John, leave the dad jokes to Jank. It was very right off the bat, I made one. Kevin Bard says, how about a top 10 most overrated vegetables, thanks to Fran's cauliflower comment.
Ooh.
Might have to do that at some point.
Them's fighting words, because I love vegetables.
Yeah, I like a few.
I pretty much like every vegetable except eggplant, because nightshades give me gas.
If you fry it, it's okay. I like the Parmesan. Anyway, with that, we gotta get back to the news. Okay, couple of important updates for everyone out there, including that today is a Monday, so we will be doing our top 10 list. On the pre-show today, I talked about the fact that South Carolina has once again reinstated the firing squad as an option for capital punishment. We are going to do our top 10 ways we would like to go if we were required to. The state was gonna snuff us out. How would we wanna go? We'll be breaking it down. It's a bit of a dark one this week, but it'll be fun. Also, reminder, as I gave on Friday, Damage Report available on Instagram and TikTok at The Damage Report, at John Iadarola. Give us a little follow. We're having some fun on there. I'm just saying, you can miss it or not. That's up to you. And with that said, let's jump back into the news. We all know that Donald Trump inspired the crowd that marched to the Capitol and did the insurrection on January 6th. But they've been saying this whole time that had nothing to do with us. There can't be any legal consequences. Certainly, we just gave a little speech and then some people did what they did. But a new revelation implies that the connection is stronger than they'd like it to be. Donald Trump's White House chief of staff and a national campaign spokesperson were apparently involved in efforts to encourage the president's supporters to march to the Capitol back on January 6th. This is not according to me. This is according to a person who says he overheard a key planning conversation between top Trump officials and organizers of the January 6th rally on the White House ellipse. And importantly, we're finding out about this now, but he already testified at the January 6th Commission a few months ago. And here's what he revealed. He, being Scott Johnston, who worked on the team that helped plan the ellipse rally, claims that leading figures in the Trump administration and campaign deliberately planned to have crowds converge on the Capitol and, quote, make it look like they went down there on their own. So there's some intentionality to it. They knew what they were doing. They were trying to hide their involvement. So Johnson says that he overheard Mark Meadows, then former President Trump's chief of staff, and Katrina Pearson, Trump's national campaign spokeswoman, talking with Kylie Kremer, the executive director of Women for America First, about plans for a march to the Capitol. Scott Johnson says they were very open about how there was going to be a march. Everyone knew there was going to be a march, but they decided against officially permitting the march because of the costs about security. After all, they don't want there to be security, they want there to be chaos. And about the optics of a sitting president organizing a push towards Congress as the election was being certified. So Johnson tells Rolling Stone they plan to, quote, direct the people down there and make it look like they went down there on their own. So this is a person who was involved in the planning of the speech. We'll have to see how credible the January 6th Commission considers them, Francesca, but they were certainly there to know.
I mean, yeah, we all saw it play out. This is exactly how it played out. So my guess is they probably discussed how it was gonna play out, where Trump was like, we're gonna march there, I'm gonna be behind you, but like not really. And you're gonna go, but I didn't say, but we're gonna go, you're mostly gonna go. Like, yeah, I think that is the key word, make it look like they went down there on their own. But even though, we're talking all different folks from, official GOP accounts like the Arizona Republican Party tweeting out Ali Alexander, the planner of the Stop the Steal rally, like he's ready, are you? And that was Ali Alexander saying, I'm willing to give my life.
Yeah.
And they're saying, yeah, man, are you ready to give your life? So not only was it a march, and that's what Republicans will have us believe. This was a march that got out of hand. No. It was a march that absolutely had two intentions. One of intimidation and specifically in the goal to overturn the election, but two, intimidation through violent measures. At no point was there, this is a peaceful march, everybody assemble peacefully. When you have a permit and there is a perimeter, although let's be real, I don't know if the cops would have even done that much, it's generally more organized. Right? And there is an understanding that this is a peaceful march. But if it's just kind of a free for all, not only does it save you by saying, hey, we didn't plan it, but it saves you by saying, well, we have less police on hand, so we get to do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, you're totally right. And the devastating point about him mentioning it, now that we find out more about how they were planning to get them to go there, but create fake distance, when Trump just said, you're gonna march down there, do you think all the organizers like, you idiot, you had one job. Don't tell them directly to go there, you dingus.
It would have been much funnier to hear him be like, we're gonna do a thing, it's gonna be a big thing, we're gonna march to a place, begins with a C, ends with an apple, like what he always does, kind of like hinting but never saying. No, he just said it.
No, he just said it. And somehow that's not enough. You need Scott Johnston talking to the January 6th committee because for some reason the president saying it live on TV isn't implicating enough. By the way, this is also the guy who says not only does he know about them using burner phones, but he bought the burner phones. minutes. Oh, kind of interesting that he's cooperating. Anyway, with that said, we're very low on time, so let's jump into our next topic, our last topic of the hour with this video.
Me. You can't do that, officer, because I called for your supervisor. I have my license. What is the reason I'm getting out?
Give your information. I told you
I didn't refuse. I asked.
Now you're resisting.
I haven't refused. I asked to speak to your supervisor.
Get out.
Sir, I feel uncomfortable. Please get your supervisor.
I don't get.
Don't touch me.
I said get out.
Please stop it. Why are you being like this? This is how y'all really are? Please stop. This is all on tape. Please stop.
Get out of the car.
Please don't hurt me. Why are
get
you doing
out.
this? No, sir.
I'm telling you, get out.
I'm telling you that this is not lawful. Oh my God, that's not lawful, sir.
Get out.
That's not lawful.
Get out.
I can't tell you how much I hate seeing that sort of situation just playing out day after day after day after day. And we're, I guess, lucky in some way that the video makes it indisputable. Like you can't argue that cops aren't doing this sort of thing. But if you resist in asking why you're being pulled over, wanting to have a human conversation with the cop that's pulling you over, they will try to brutally pull you out of the car and then hit you with a taser. Like if we didn't have the video, he would pretend that the guy fought back, that the guy was cussing him out. And think about the people who say just comply. They say don't fight. You don't think that every single conservative who tells people that, asks questions, wants to know why they're being arrested, why they're being dragged out of their car? Yeah. He asked simple questions calmly and non-violently. And the escalation continued, 100% coming from the cop, Francesca.
Yeah, he lost his cool. He got so upset because this guy was just asking him questions. Wow, that's some training, you know? I love when we're always told that cops just need more training. I don't know, maybe you need like a silent meditation retreat, bro. Maybe so you can like calm the F down. And when someone talks back to you, know how to like, keep your cool. He's not posing a threat to you. He doesn't have a gun. He's handing you his registration and license, right? And I also honestly kind of hats off to the guy who filmed himself. Number one, for defending his right to film, but also he didn't comply. He wasn't trying to just be a subservient person in this matter. I honestly respect that he was a little bit like, no, you're gonna have to explain to me what's going on here. And obviously, I'm so glad that this didn't end even worse because we've seen it end even worse. So it took a lot of bravery.
It does, and definitely record. They hate when you record because it makes clear what happened. They haven't even identified this guy, let alone give it any consequences. So thank God we have the footage. Now that said, don't go anywhere. If you do, I'm gonna find you because we got some amazing stuff to talk about, including Matt Gaetz going for another round. We'll have that for you in just a couple minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to what remains of the show. I'm John Iadarola, and Francesca Fiorentini joins us now. Francesca, thank you as always for being here. How was the Bitchuation Room yesterday? What was going on with it?
Oh, it was really good. We had Trey Crowder on. He was super fun and funny. Even though we talked about some not very fun subjects like the war on terror and its legacy. Lena Al-Aryan, who works with the Coalition for Civil Freedoms, was on to talk all about honestly the ways that the FBI is continuing its like entrapment schemes, not just against Muslims, but now against anti-government extremists who I know we hate, but like, should it be the FBI that's setting up some of these plots, as we learned last week when it came to the Whitmer like kidnapping? Yeah. That's pretty suspect. So it was a great conversation. Everybody listen on all podcast platforms, Bitchuation Room. You can watch it at Franny Fio on YouTube, which is my channel, and we stream every Sunday 5/8 Eastern.
Awesome, sounds good. We've got a lot to talk about, but I want to read a few comments first, including that Missy Gale Forever has been a tier 2 member for 16 months on YouTube and says, the reason for the consolidation of the political body is because the media hyping the fascist arm, though small and politically ineffective, they're afraid they might see a resurgence, almost war. Thank you. By the way, at tier 2, you get access to our top 10 list. And after the show, we're gonna be recording if we had to go, if the state had decreed we're wiping out John and Francesca, how would we want to go? We're gonna give you our top 10 list for that. Luck Dragon says, Clarence Thomas, aka Uncle Tom, won't retire until he's helped destroy democracy. Let's keep it above board. Thank you for the super chat, but above board, everybody. Musically Meg says, Fran said cauliflower, and chat became a controversial veggies debate devolving into food puns. I love it almost as much as I love cauliflower wings. As I said when we were talking about this, if you haven't had the Impossible chicken nuggets yet.
Ooh, from?
I could eat. Like, I'm just talking about like bag, like in your.
Oh, yeah, the brand.
I want to find some places that are using Impossible chicken because Impossible chicken is very good. I could eat a pile of those nuggets right now.
Oh yeah, it's nothing but gluten. It's just gluten on gluten.
Well, what's a chicken nugget? Like it has no relationship to anything that flew. Monty's chicken sandwich. Okay, I'm not the.
I mean, honestly, for me, the Beyond Burger at Fat Burger in LA is very good. Yeah. That's like my go-to.
Okay, well, with that, we do have a lot to talk about. So everyone, hold on to your butts as the incredibly graphic picture implied you should. And let's jump into this.
I'm at 24 Hollywood Boulevard in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. We're opening our campaign offices for my reelection campaign. So if you're in the next few hours, you're in Fort Walton Beach, want to stop by, we'd love to have you. We got some pizza, some barbecue, some great friends.
Okay, so that's Matt Gaetz sounding better than he's ever sounded, cooler and funnier than he's ever sounded. Of course, that was the voice of Brett Ehrlich because he was playing Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we don't want to get knocked off of YouTube, so we dubbed it over. But that is Matt Gaetz announcing he's running again. Now, notably, he was doing it while sporting a particular look, which we'll return to. But no, he's running for re-election. Forget this investigation and the accusations of underage sex trafficking and sexual harassment and sexual assault and all that. He tweeted, it's choose your fighter time, I'm your Florida man. Which is like, I get that like he's trying to be funny, but like you actually are a mess. So it's like kind of meta even beyond him trying to joke. And here's a shot from it. It's a look like, we cut off the pants. You gotta see the pants and the shoes. That is the lowest belt I've seen in a long time.
Pretty low.
We could go back to that. Like, I'm not an expert on Matt Gaetz's anatomy, but that seems low to me. I don't know, Francesca, what do you think?
Low cut jeans are apparently gonna come back, but I don't know. It depends on what Gen Zers on TikTok have to say about it. I'm with them. I'm not into it, but I get it.
I don't want them to, but if they are going to, I don't think Matt Gaetz is supposed to be part of trends at this point. I think he's beyond that. Anyway.
I mean, beyond like did you catch his like misuse of you are in your? Yeah. Like I'm you are Florida man? Is that on purpose? That's gotta be on purpose.
I don't know.
Because he used your correctly. It's chose your fighter time. you are Florida man. Eep, boop, bop, bop. Like, what
is it meta? Is like,
I don't think so, because remember how the right doesn't do irony, and every time we think they do, but it really is a mess up, they're like, that was irony, and you're like, you don't even know what that is, bro.
Yeah, maybe we're giving them too much credit. I don't know.
You thought Colbert was real.
Exactly, geez. Well, our producers wanted to make sure that we owned Matt Gaetz in as thoroughly online a fashion as possible. So they reminded us of this shot from Lucky Luciano. You know, I had to do it to him. Maybe he'll be an intern or something on there. Probably too old for the inner circle of Matt Gaetz. But anyway, look, let's get to the substance of this. He is running again. He is facing the sorts of accusations that one would think in the time of the ascendancy of QAnon and the everybody's a pedophile in government conspiracy theories, like that he has suffered no consequences for all of what's been revealed about him seems odd in that context. But from everything I've heard from the district, I believe Farron Cousins lives in the district. He said he doesn't anticipate Matt Gaetz having any trouble whatsoever, not just in the general election, but it's not even like another Republican is gonna use it to primary him. It's all cool. Everything that he's done is considered perfectly fine.
Only in Florida. I mean, this is what we've been saying since the beginning, which is the only place that an otherwise like a sex trafficker, essentially, the only place a alleged sex trafficker can still get a job. If this dude was working at Fatburger, gone, done, over. Yeah. If he was working at another company, gone, done, over. Congress, man, it's Congress. Elected office is where all creeps go to hide. And it's the last place you can keep your job, because you only have to convince, I don't know, a few 100,000 people, and you're suddenly with your 5 head, talking about whatever the hell his issues are.
And those couple 100,000 people are people who will simultaneously think that because they read something on a forum thread, Huma Abedin eats baby faces, but anything that comes out about one of their own, that is itself evidence of how awesome they are, that the deep state is trying to take them down.
Yes.
It's a weird way that works.
I mean, it makes sense for him. It's how he can evade responsibility, right?
Yeah.
He's a sitting congressperson. I don't know.
The one nuance I would add to your thing about the fact that you can get away with anything is, remember, like Katie Hill stepped down because she was having an affair, basically. And what do you call it? Who's the comedian? Al Franken. He stepped down because of the things that he's done and been alleged to do. None of which is anywhere as severe or as illegal as anything that Matt Gaetz is experiencing. But it's just a thing where we do actually hold our elected representatives to certain standards. In some cases, it goes even way beyond that. And on the right, there isn't any of that. It just doesn't exist. They do not have any standards. And this is, of course, the good Christian side of the political spectrum and everything.
Yeah, if you never admit to it, then it never even happened. I mean, it is what Trump coined, and the GOP has fallen in line. And sadly, the Democratic side doesn't have the power to actually make them comply. And they mock Democrats all the time for their morals. Haha, lol, wow, you have principles, you apply them to yourself as well? No, we just hypocritically talk about it, and then we do the exact same thing.
You apply it to yourself, you doof. How weird. Anyway, so he's probably gonna be fine, at least until maybe when they announce the outcome of this investigation, which they've been working on for 85 years. Could we get a resolution? Honestly. What was on his phone? Are you still trying to guess the password? You loaded up the contacts, you loaded up the texting app. Tell us what was on it. Anyway, with that said, I'm gonna read a couple of comments before we move on to something very different. Let's see, Jeff Fay gave us a breaking news update. Russians allow dozens of Chernobyl workers to leave after 600 hours as hostages. So that is good. Hopefully they've now moved in their own people who can stop that situation from going critical in any way. Scary stuff. Thank you on Twitch for the hype train, much appreciated. Kamala Gabam says it should be easier to fire a Congress member than a minimum wage worker. Yeah, it just isn't. It's so weird. There's no standards. Look at Sinema. Like her constituents absolutely hate her guts. nothing you can do for literally years.
Mm-hmm.
So weird. You would think that for like we give them so much power, the responsibility side of it is just completely non-existent.
But also, like,
anyway,
we're in a time, especially in California, of massive recalls. Like, you didn't like the way someone dressed, they're gonna get recalled. Like, and we have none of that for the Senate.
Exactly, it's insanity. Okay, with that said, let's move to something crazy. Now, I'm gonna warn you before we go to this video, there is harsh language, it's gonna be beeped out and stuff like that, but this is a difficult situation, so everyone bear that in mind as we go into this video.
I'm sorry, refund my meal. You want to talk to your boss? No. You want to talk to her for her calling me a man? What was you saying? I called her after she called me a You have a nice day. Call the cops. Call the cops. And you think I won't? Think this is acceptable? Huh?
He can't call me that. He can suck a dick. Just like I told him. You can suck a dick. 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 You can suck a dick.
Put me on TikTok. I bet you I'm
You can suck a dick.
I bet you I'll beat the
You can suck a dick. You can suck a and look at what you're acting like.
Stay classy, America. So that's an individual who busts back into the Popeyes where he's ordering food. If it's not clear from the beeping, he was angry that a woman, potentially the woman who was talking there, had called him a cracker, which I personally don't think is the worst racial slur, although yes, it can get you banned on Twitch or something these days. And in return, he dropped the N-word over and over again before transitioning into threatening to physically assault the woman who was recording him, Francesca, over chicken at a Popeyes.
I want to bet she was just like, here, would you like crackers, sir? And he was like, what did you call me? And freaked out about it. I don't know what they serve at Popeyes. Like,
I don't think they serve crackers specifically, but
if he was, I'm just going with her on, just gut feeling, gut instinct, she was in the right. And yeah, I can't believe the things that are still coming out of people's mouths in the year 2022, especially when it is someone who is trying to patronize a place and also versus like a worker, which is already a power imbalance. And now you're going to just completely disrespect them. And I have no words.
Trash. Was like, first of all, I don't think anyone's ever randomly called me a cracker. Let's say that they did. Let's say that I was going into, to get a breakfast burrito because that's what I'm craving as we're recording this.
Yes.
And I had a terrible experience. You know what I would do? I would leave. I would not run back in, put my face right in a video camera and begin shouting the worst racial slurs that I could come. But he did, like, I'm trying to understand people. It's a fundamental part of us being on the left is that we try to understand. It's related to empathy. How is this going to improve the quality of your life? To be the road that guy has decided to walk down. He's, by the way, of course, been identified because he's looking directly into a video camera. So on Facebook, apparently, according to Felonious Skunk, if we can get ahead of this next one, he's been identified. Like in Florida, by the way, it is arguable, at least if we could bring this up, this is from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. It is arguable, at least, that potentially when you are repeatedly shouting racial slurs while threatening to assault someone, that can be classified as a hate crime. Now, that's the literal law in Florida, but it is Florida, so I have a feeling he's probably going to be fined / become a congressman soon. But why go down this road? How, like, if we take what he said as granted, let's say that she did call him a cracker and that's the worst thing that's ever happened to him or whatever. How is this making your life better? Like you're probably gonna be fine, except you're gonna look terrible. Everyone you know could potentially see this. They're gonna be spreading this around, Francesca. I do not understand making a choice like this.
Racist gonna racist. I mean, this is someone who is not afraid of consequences, is not afraid of saying this openly, probably says it with friends and family, and now straight up to somebody's face. And so, man, if only, I don't know. Like, I was like, if only I were uninhibited like that, but I would never say a racial slur like that. So I don't know what I would do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Profess.
And where are we at on
what I would do.
you know, like we know that there's been a lot of really high profile racists that have done quite well in our society recently, including becoming president. The fear, of course, as that was happening and ever since, has been that is helping to normalize it. That when you have this roving rally, like Trump goes and does these rallies, it's just get together, like stew in your hate, that's gonna inspire more people to do this. And certainly there are a lot more reported hate crimes than there used to be. But do we believe that? I mean, there have been people who run in and do stuff like this all the time, right? We're seeing it more because now the video is available. But you believe absent Trump, this guy still would have ended up doing this?
No, I mean, I think that for sure it started in it started before the pandemic, and the pandemic people completely lost their minds and forgot how to act. And then, the right weaponized the COVID from jump and then the vaccine. So that had something to do with it. But remember the summer of, I believe it was started in 2017, maybe 2018, when we started seeing, videos of like, hey, going to the pool while black, like sitting around, going to a park while black. I mean, the Karen videos began in that time. And I absolutely think that, as we say, the fish rots from the head down. Like when your example is Donald Trump, yeah, he totally unearthed a wave of racism that had been bottled up, that still existed. Again, people saying stuff in private to their friends and family or partners or whatever. And then it was like, oh, no. Now we can say this openly because that is freedom, is for me to spout all of my backwards ass ideas about other races around. And I'm entitled to do that. So no, I totally agree with you. I think this is America. So it's been around. But this kind of cavalier nature and feeling you're in the right when you do it, I think it's very new. It's new, not
it's
new.
This really toxic,
new old.
It's this toxic combination of him telling his supporters, you being not just him, I mean like right-wing media and other politicians too. You being white is the best thing about you. Getting in people's face is how you show your patriotism and your strength. Never apologize when you're wrong. Oh, and also, racism doesn't exist. If anyone claims that you're being racist, they're trying to silence you. They're trying to cancel you. You combine all of these different things, these different threads of right-wing thought, and why wouldn't it produce the Karenization of America?
Yes.
Anyway, we are unfortunately running very low on time. So why don't we jump into our last topic, and we'll see if we have time to respond to a few comments after that. But first, this. A lawsuit coming out of Colorado claims that a pro-Trump group is sending people door to door to get in people's face and question them about their voting habits, and that the groups are armed in some cases while doing it. So this is awesome all around. The lawsuit alleges that the US Election Integrity Plan, which is led by Sean Smith, an ally of former Trump strategist Steve Bannon, and why not, MyPillow founder Mike Lindell, is sending armed members door to door in areas with large numbers of voters of color, questioning people about how they voted and taking photographs of their homes. So this lawsuit is being backed by a number of different groups, including the state chapter of the NAACP, the League of Women Voters, and Mi Familia Vota. Alleges that the voter intimidation campaign violates the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1971, a post-Civil War law aimed at preventing white vigilantes from terrorizing black people to stop them from voting. And you can sort of see where they're coming from with some of those claims, because if you're sending people down to ask people about their private voting behavior, they're packing firearms while they're doing it, they're taking photos of your house. How could a regular person not feel terrorized by that, Francesca?
A part of me dies every time you realize that we're in a moment in 2022 when laws from 1871 have to be applied because of how racist this country is still. And how emboldened, as we just talked about. I mean, this is continuing. How the hell is this even legal? And guys, your buddies in the Senate have got it all on lock. Your buddies in state senates have got it all on lock. They're completely gerrymandering and voter suppressing and removing polling stations, removing mail-in ballots. They're making it very hard for black and brown people in the United States to vote. So don't you worry, You don't have to go around with your guns anymore because now it's all legal, right? So it's so disheartening and disgusting, and I hope that there's something done about that. But again, man, you think about like, well, who's there to protect us? The police. Well, and do we have to get into the long legacy of the KKK and the police working in tandem to suppress Black people's right to vote or to live or just exist as a human in society? So these are the moments that I think it's really important for folks on the left to remember that, this whole like idea that we're gonna somehow woo the right through economic populist ideas. No, we need to defeat racism, right? Now, I do believe that a certain way is a multiracial, multi-ethnic coalition that centers economic, social safety net and economic policies. That's important, but don't get it twisted. A lot of these Trump supporters, they don't care if Trump delivered on the economy. They don't care if their lives are any better so long as they can continue to blame people of color and immigrants. Yeah. That's their bread and butter. What are we doing about that?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said. They love the feeling of being elevated to a position of authority and moral superiority. That is what this movement is about. It is about the right identifying themselves as better. They like going door to door and intimidating people. Some of them, some small percentage, they're a fan of this. They get off on it. And for plenty of people, it won't have an effect. But for some, it's just an added layer of trying to manipulate the vote. You identified so many of the ways that they do that with gerrymandering legislation, voter suppression, culling the voting rolls, and all that. We know from successful campaigns, activists, that you knock on a bunch of doors. It's a numbers game. Some percentage will turn out for your candidate.
Right.
Well, what if you knock on a bunch of doors and show up with a rifle? Maybe some percentage doesn't vote anymore because they're terrified of those people coming back, and that is the whole point. It's just low grade terrorism on a mass scale. In particular here with Colorado, and they lie too. I mean, they show up with badges. They call themselves USEIP agents. When you just make up a dumb group, you don't get to call yourself an agent as a result of that. That's not how that works. Agents are operatives of the government. They're official. We can have a problem with what they do, but they're actually vested with authority. These are just random weirdos that believe the big lie. They're literally going around because they believe that ballots have been cast fraudulently. Like at the core of this, remember, they believe that Colorado should be a Trump state and that it was stolen. That's why going on a year and a half later, they're still terrorizing individual voters because they believe they can flip Colorado for the 2020 election. These people are absolutely mad and they're armed, and that's a bad combination. Wouldn't it be nice to have some defense, someone on our side actually fighting against these people? But so far the Democrats haven't shown any desire to actually.
No, and not only that.
Point goes to you.
Final point is that, you've got poll workers and election workers who've been stalked ever since 2020 and they've resigned. They're like, I didn't sign up for this. I was just trying to do some good in my community. So what is the Democrats' response? Just gonna underline your point. What are they doing to prevent this kind of voter suppression? I don't see a plan.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have, Francesca, but we're gonna go film our top 10 list in a little bit. It'll be available to our tier 2 and tier 3 members on YouTube. In the meantime, where can people go see the Bitchuation Room?
On all podcast platforms, listen to the Bitchuation Room. I'm now a part of the TYT podcast fam, so that's exciting. You can also follow me on YouTube at Franny Fio and on Twitch at Franny Fio.
Very exciting, and the fun is just getting started. Indisputable is gonna be live in just a few. Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Ben Carollo. So don't go anywhere, stick and stay. A lot more where this came from, but thank you for joining us. And until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.